What up, what up? Welcome to Swimming Through the Void. Welcome back. Welcome to this is going to be the next chapter from the book Invoke the Gods, and this is the chapter on Lord Shiva. The person who gifted me this book most likely gifted it to me because of Shiva being in there, because I worship God in the form of Shiva. Well, I worship God in every single form, but Shiva holds a special place in my heart because when I died in the hospital and I left my body and I was sort of brought up. Very hard to explain these experiences, these near-death and death experiences, but I was basically brought up to the cosmos, not in a form of a body or anything. Like I said, it's sort of hard to explain, and by the light of Christ is what I felt, right? It wasn't the picture of Jesus that you see. A lot of things in religion and the way they sort of put it out to the mainstream is very off, and I feel like that's kind of why it causes so much confusion and bickering and hatred and separatism, but anyways, and that's why it's like that in the first place. But and I was shown basically the universe, everything moving, held in place, being destroyed, being created all at once. And when I came, I knew it was Shiva. I knew it was Shiva. When I came back into my body and sort of went home from that experience, and my life was literally step by step guided, and Lord Shiva was right there in everything I did. And like I said, this was not a blue deity as we see him depicted, but these pictures are very symbolic in nature, and Shiva represents the perfect stillness and the cosmic destruction. It represents the underlying energy or force of God that literally holds everything in place, that destroys everything, that creates everything. And so this is why I have such a profound relationship with Lord Shiva. And just a fun fact on, I think, why I got this book in the first place was because of that. And so this chapter is one that I have read, but it's been it's definitely been over a year, so I'm excited to get into this with you guys. There is a really cool meditation in this chapter as well. So let's get it. Let's get it. Put on some bird sounds or something, y'all. Let's put on some sounds. Gotta be careful with what I play here. 11:22 on the clock, y'all. I gotta be very careful with what I play here because of copyright claims and all that. I really wish we could just jam out on here, because my music, my life is music. I am music. I am a musician. And so it really kind of bums me out that we can't do that. I'm actually thinking about starting to do some Facebook Lives. The past couple days I have been figuring out how I can go live with my mic and with my camera so the quality's a little better. That's the reason why I don't go live as much, because I'd be going live all day every day if I could sort of work it out. And I have been. As soon as I got things worked out, the USB cord for the camera stopped working, right? And the YouTube live was working up until that point. So I went and I got a new USB cord and stuff. Got home, I was doing that stuff all day today, and when I got home and plugged it in, it worked and everything, and then YouTube was saying that another app is using my camera, so I went through for like a few hours trying to troubleshoot and a bunch of BS, but we're gonna get it figured out, y'all. Everything is divine. It all happens in perfect divine timing, sort of just the universe saying that I don't really need to be focused on that right now. And so I decided to jump into, you know, working on this series, and both series, the numerology and this one. So let's get it, y'all. The Ganges pours from Shiva's hair in 7 sacred streams, carrying sacraments in its holy potent flow. Ash, which has dusted his head for years, floats as flotsam on the dark and luminous waters. Wow, and his presence is coming through very heavily, along with orbs, dark blue and black orbs in here right now, you guys, so that's really exciting. I know a lot of you that have been tuning in actually have true sight, and you're in a very high vibration, and you're able to perceive these things as well. So I'm hoping that his blessing is bestowed upon you as well, or you can feel it or get sort of a sign for yourself. His essence, his energy is very powerful. There's no words for it. It is amazing. It is all encompassing. And so I really recommend doing this meditation. I recommend chanting the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, or checking into other Shiva mantras, because the force of him, the energy, Shiva will come into your life and destroy anything that does not need to be there, anything that is not serving your highest purpose. And then you can connect to Kali Ma as well, and she will come through and cut your head off. She will take your ego and smash it, and you will be left in pure bliss, right? These energies are amazing. I was so excited to start reading this with you guys. His skin is the Himalayan snow, ice cold with renunciation, each peak a feat of will over matter, a monument of self-mortification carved out by centuries of stalwart effort. The blue sky is his face, as dark as a storm cloud at the throat where the poison of the cosmos is trapped, corked forever against the demons who would use it to destroy Dharma and mankind. Behind his head rears the 1,000-headed cobra, its hood protecting him from sun and snow. The crescent moon glimmers in his hair like a fish trapped in a net, and in the background hangs another moon, huge and astral, shining full on the haunted yogic mountains. Gurus abide here. Youthful ancients like Holy Babaji, wizened sadhus contorted in devotion, levitating mystics who can walk in 2 worlds at once, occult masters and chanting mantrics who keep the cosmic motor running, saintly beings who live and die in bleak obscurity but bless the world of men with their very breath. In Shiva's domain, the sound of Om. I hope you guys just heard the candle pop. In Shiva's domain, the sound of Om is audible in the steep inclines that are acts of devotion, petrified, and in cold, dark caves lined with tiger's fur, it finds its echo. Sometimes the peacefulness of this retreat enrages him. 100,000 years of meditation can make a man and God alike crave the wilder side of life. Then Shiva arises, unraveling the legs bent so long in sacred lotus posture, and the mountains shake as the power crackles from his limbs. 4 ash-encrusted arms fan out to touch the sky, remembering their fluency and movement. Ecstatic with the change, the Lord begins to dance. slowly at first in long movements like serpents, which are his jewelry, then faster and with menacing intent. His face grows darker, where once was a pallor. Life force spreads across his physiognomy. Oh my lord, sorry about that, y'all. Like a bruise. His third eye clicks open, and 1,000 trees are incinerated as it takes its primal glance. As news of Shiva's awakening spreads through the ether, his retinue gathers. From cemetery and morgue comes a storm of lost souls whirling its way up the mountain with a high-pitched, freakish groan, a sound to freeze the blood of those who live. Evil spirits are attracted to the fray, and with these come the possessed and the spiritually dispossessed, the insane and the shrieking women tearing at their hair. All the thieves and criminals of India hear the call of their lord and add themselves to his ghastly crew. Together they whirl wildly down the mountain, thunderous, blue-skinned Shiva and a million ghosts and phantasms, and chanting sorcerers and women beating at their breasts like those in grief. He will wipe the world away and bring its struggling souls to rest in his body. Monumental dancing Shiva, trident swirling, arms like blades now as he gathers speed and runs screaming, drooling down the mountain. Every creature that hears this sound dies instantly, shedding the shell of flesh, which is the god's favorite trick, and finding sweet refreshment in the fountain of life that is the inner essence of frightful-seeming Shiva. His thoughts are irrevocable, for though he still sits in samadhi on that icy mount, and though he has merely dreamed the day of our destruction, his mind sets the wheels of Maya into action, and once triggered, no one can turn them back. Now Shiva will slice up the world, and then, with lingam and yoni conjoined, conceive another, purer, cleaner than the last. Demons will not know this new place, nor will the possessed or spiritually dispossessed. The new yuga, or age, will be blessed by Shiva and by the Kalki Avatara, final incarnation of Vishnu, an era of virtue and realization of God. For the act of creation is as natural to him as that of destruction, and the gods play with poles of duality like children playing with torches and shadows. Once this is done, he will return to his palace, to luxuriant-haired Parvati in her scarlet sari glistening with gold, to his dear sons Ganesh and Skanda, and tell them all about what he's done at work today. With his handsome body besmeared with ash, matted hair piled high, live serpent jewelry and loincloth of tiger skin, Shiva is one of the most striking manifestations of the Hindu pantheon. This holy ash is actually the remnants of burnt cow dung known as Vibhuti, the cow representative of the Holy Mother of creation, the fire of the male principle. This male-female balance is all-important to the symbolism of Shiva, who through the gender dynamic of or Shiva-Shakti relationship describes the interaction of pure consciousness and the active creative principle. Shiva's devotees are often found heavily powdered in this fine, sweet-smelling substance. Not only that, and I don't know if it's going to say it in here, but they also not only use the cow dung ash, and I'm not sure if that's the primary, from what I understand, they actually cover themselves in the ash from the cremation grounds, from the burnt bodies in Varanasi, where they burn the bodies and throw the ashes in the Ganges. Most of them cover themselves with ash to sort of keep themselves in the truth that the only thing promised here is death. They have purified themselves in the fires of self-denial and hardship. Unlike Krishna, who emanates bounty, Shiva exudes asceticism and denial of the senses. His path is that of strict self-control, and his personal power is that of tapas, or annihilation. And I think that's why his energy came to me so heavily, is because during my Saturn return, I really went through a major transformation and renounced myself and my ego. And you know, I didn't even renounce myself. What happened was I died, and when I came back into my body, it was so crazy how it was just so different. Like, I knew that I was none of that and lived my life in a completely different way. And since then, it's been a few years now, but since then have been slowly shedding all that isn't me, habits, thought patterns, all of it. Shiva is the destructive principle in the trinity of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. Vishnu creates life and preserves it. Shiva brings cycles to a close, and between them exists Brahma, uniting the opposites and creating a balanced state that facilitates life as we know it. During the brief span of each incarnation, we are forced to suffer in order to learn, causing the 12th century Hindu poet and Shiva devotee Basavana to rail. Shiva, you have no mercy. Shiva, you have no heart. Why did you bring me to birth? Wretch in this world, exile from the other. This sensibility evinces the lack of fatalism found in the bulk of Hindu literature, and certainly contrasts with the unquestioning endurance and fear of hubris evident in the other religions studied here, Greek and Egyptian. It is the cry of a devotee working, like Shiva, outside the established order. The rhetoric may, of course, be a poetic ploy, or Basavana, or his translator, may be echoing the typically Judeo-Christian sentiments of the era in which he was writing, "Why have you forsaken me?" Either way, the lines reflect the horror felt, even by one devoted to God, at the apparently dire mortal condition. Between these cycles, we may sleep in Shiva or be united with God, but duality is periodically forced upon us in the shape of a body and life on the stage of Maya, or Samsara. However, the poet instantly answers his own question, conforming Shiva's loving care throughout his tribulation. And it reads, "As a mother runs close behind her child, with his hand on a cobra or a fire, the Lord of the meeting rivers stays with me every step of the way and looks after me." We are perpetually under the loving scrutiny of Shiva's third eye, according to Basavana and the other Shaivites. Sai Baba was said to demonstrate this principle by manifesting quantities of vibhuti, both personally and in the most unlikely places, such as on and behind portraits of saints in North London, and anywhere else inhabited by his devotees. Holy ash in the midst of daily life represented the perpetual loving scrutiny of Shiva, and indeed of Sai Baba himself, who claimed to know his flock's every deed and thought. With one glance from his ajna optic, Shiva can blast demons into oblivion, so caring for mortals, even as a mother guards her child, is not a problem. This is another symbolic property of the ash. It's interesting to see Shiva perceived in this maternal role when he seems such a fierce god, with his pale skin dusted in the residue of purification, his necklace of skulls like Kali's reflecting his activities as reaper. He's usually depicted in meditation or slaying the monsters of impure thought. However, just as he has his Shakti, or feminine counterpart, in this case Parvati, so does he evince a material aspect in relation to his supplicants. Hindu gods are very versatile. Just as Krishna may be approached as child, lover, friend, or guru, so is Shiva father, mother, and god. He is lord of the ascetics, and many sadhus, or holy ascetics, imitate his appearance, usually without the tiger skin. They also aspire to attain boons and spiritual grace through penance and denial, which entail such bizarre activities as burying their heads in sand for days on end, not moving for years, holding the arms out until they are in agony, and so forth. These activities are believed to create a spiritual heat from which arises the power to perform psycho-spiritual miracles known as siddhi powers. And this is why I'm always advocating for leaving behind what's no longer serving you and for killing the ego, you guys, because I shit you not, when you give yourself up, when you give these offerings as things that we're clinging to, whether it be smoking, drinking, gossiping, negative thinking, any type of bad, when we offer these things into the sacred fire of the divine, we are truly blessed with magical powers. And the more I shed this person that was born into this body and come into one with the divine, the more powerful I become. And not in like an egotistical way, but for real, I don't think a lot of people understand how tapped in you can really get in this plane. And all you have to do is try for yourself. Start saying the mantras. Start giving things up. Start looking into who and what you really are. Start meditating. Start doing breath work. Start calming your mind down. And you will literally heal every person you come in contact with, even if you're passing them by in the grocery store. Shiva's weapon is the trident of iron, which was originally smelted by the heretic lords of Darukavana when they became jealous of the attraction their wives felt for the god. They conspired together to slay Shiva with dark magic, creating a deer to distract him, a ferocious tiger to consume him, and vicious weapons cursed to bring Shiva harm. Shiva slayed the tiger in a trance and took its pelt as a trophy, touched the deer and kept it about his person as a totem, and took the iron from the trident. His trident. Finally, he celebrated his victory with a celestial dance. Thus did he reverse the karma inflicted on him, making himself thrice blessed, where once he was thrice cursed. Shiva's natural habitats are the Himalayas. And cremation and burial grounds. His retinue includes ghosts and vampires, and like Kali, he haunts the abodes of the processes of dissolution for which he is responsible. He defies all material wealth, and his followers may be found Digambara, or sky-clad, in the cemetery chanting his mantra deep in meditation. The drum, another one of Shiva's symbols, echoes his mantric aspects, through which the soul is liberated by sacred rhythm. Shiva's merciful aspect is symbolized by his bright blue neck. When the sea of milk was being churned at the beginning of creation, the celestial drink Amrita was created. However, alongside it, a terrible poison was produced, strong enough to destroy the whole of mankind. Although a destroyer rather than a preserver, Shiva compassionately swallowed the poison himself, causing great personal discomfort. Parvati, his loving wife, feared that he might die of it, and so blocked the path from his throat to his stomach. The potent poison thus stayed lodged in Shiva's throat, imbuing it with its deadly color. This immunity explains in part his role as supreme physician. Shiva's mount is the white bull Nandi, who is worshipped in India as another god. When Shiva takes an animal form, which he does frequently, it's mostly as a bull. The connotations of agriculture and fertility evident in Nandi bring us to Shiva's ithyphallic aspect, in which he is worshipped as the lingam or erect phallus, a peculiar attribute one might think for a god of asceticism, especially one who incinerates Kama, the god of love, with a glance of his third eye. Shiva refuses to accept his ordained Shakti, Parvati, until she has undergone severe austerities and thus proved herself to be a suitable companion on a spiritual level. However, the lingam is crucial to the dance of life, of which Shiva is lord, and to the process of rebirth, and thereby states which are finite. Shiva's domain, this symbol of natural creative energy, is teamed with the female yoni to represent the source of created power. I am going to restart this because we're getting close to 30. Shiva dances in two ways: the dance of life, when his positive energy is bubbling up, and the terrible dance of destruction, when he raves like a madman and becomes the antithesis of what we regard as healthy and desirable. Of course, both of these aspects are needed to preserve existence. Kabbalistically speaking, Shiva perfectly represents the extremes of Gebura, which is destruction, and Chesed, which is life-nurturing mercy, between which lies the state of effective existence. These poles of severity and mercy, restriction and abundance, are represented in Hinduism by the currents of Ida and Pingala. The yoni aims to control his relations with both currents, often through breathing exercises. As Lord of Yoga, Shiva is essential to this process, and thus to the process of spiritual liberation it engenders. In Kundalini Yoga, the practitioner seeks the union of Shiva and Shakti within, the energetic union of male and female principles, conceptual and active forces working in harmony. The union of Shiva and Parvati symbolizes the reconciliation of opposites, which is a key to Shiva's iconography. However, the most important aspects of this process occur on the subtle planes, befitting Shiva as master of asceticism to the role. Despite its powerful sexual nature, the phallus of Shiva is not merely the basic fertility emblem of the original pagan, but an ace of rods on the inner planes, denoting communication between the celestial and the mortal, remembrance of our purpose on this plane, and spiritual progression. Shiva's physical attributes exist merely to help the mind fix on the pure and boundless consciousness that is his true being. Another famous image of Shiva depicts him prostrate beneath Kali, who dances her own bloodthirsty jig. Rather than being subjugated by her, as the image first suggests, Shiva is again acting out of compassion for humanity. Having slain the demon Mahishasura, Kali is drunk with bloodlust and threatens to destroy mankind before her thirst is sated. Shiva, in this instance perceived as her beloved husband, places himself in her way in order to bring her to her senses. She stops, but the moment at which she perceives Shiva, yet is still astride him, has come to symbolize the union of male and female principles and creative force. As well as haunting the battleground and mortuary, Shiva presides over thieves and robbers. This may seem a strange patronage for a god of penance, but thieves, like Shiva, are working outside the established order in a destructive, creative framework. The Shiva we know today developed from Rudra, the Vedic archer whose arrows bring indiscriminate disease and death, whose aspect was dark and terrible, and to whom criminals would have naturally been drawn. Oh, sorry, Father Solanus. I didn't mean to knock you over. Just want to bring that into focus. Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance. A complete contrast to this aspect of Shiva's nature is the frequently depicted role of family man, which he plays with Parvati, or further back with Sati, the perfect wife, from whose legend arises the tradition of the self-immolation of widows. Skanda, and often little Ganesh, wears the Tripundraka on his forehead, the 3 horizontal stripes of sandalwood and ash often imitated by his followers. On the palm of his hand is the holy syllable Om, the source of all manifestation. Another emblem of significance to Shiva is the moon, the crescent of which he wears in his hair. Legend says that the moon floated on top of the sea of milk when the universe was being churned, and Shiva took it for a diadem. The lunar symbol befits Shiva's role as creator, new moon, preserver, and enlightener, full moon, and seemingly insane destroyer, waning in dark moons. It is a clear reference to contemplation and solitude. Shiva is sometimes depicted as white as moonlight or Himalayan snow, colors reflected by many of his devotees who smear their entire bodies with vibhuti and sandalwood paste. A gathering of sadhus, such as occurs once every 10 years in Benares or Varanasi, can look much like the film Night of the Living Dead, with matted hair yogis with wild staring eyes often contorted from years of penance, walking around as white as sheets with the ash and dust. There could, of course, be no more appropriate homage to Shiva in his role as resuscitator of souls, bringing self-realization through yoga and devotional practice, and destroyer of Maya. Once, during a game of dice, Parvati asked Shiva who the sun and the moon really were. He replied that they were his 2 eyes, and Parvati, for a joke, placed her hands over them, and the world was plunged into darkness and chaos. As a punishment for this tomfoolery, Parvati gained her Kali aspect and was temporarily exiled to earth encased in it. This is one of the rare occasions on which Parvati did not win the game. Usually, she is the insurmountable opponent, allowing Shiva to win only the occasional round. Why would he play if he never won? His usual prize is a kiss, the next might be an embrace, and the next, well, the game is a celestial love play. However, when Parvati wins, she takes Shiva's weapons, his trident, discus, and even his faithful bull Nandi. There are many illustrations of Shiva in this distressing predicament. The famous caves at Ellora in India are rich with imagery of this play between god and goddess. They are mimicked in Hindu wedding lore, in which the husband and wife are encouraged to play games of chance together, and the husband allows the wife to win. Parvati likewise completely denudes Shiva of his ritual paraphernalia and cuts him down to size. Even the god of destruction is subject to the vicissitudes of fate. Because of their gaming trysts, Parvati and Shiva frequently argue. When Shiva loses, his bad temper causes him to play some pretty dirty tricks, and Parvati, in her turn, becomes petulant. One South Indian tale tells of how Shiva and his wife were playing at Seni, a game involving collecting what we would probably call pieces of the pie to fill a board. And Parvati was beating Shiva as usual. He began to complain of giddiness and nausea, so the faithful wife went to fetch him some milk. When she returned, he had reversed the board so that the lucky side was facing him. In fury, she kicked it over. Exasperated, he cursed her finest sari, commanding that black ants eat it, and stormed out of their home. Parvati smeared her face with the black ash, removed her finery, and replaced it with rags. Running to the forest where she knew her furious husband would be roaming, she sat and pretended to be an untouchable. Shiva soon discovered her picking lice from her hair, and in his anger and desire to get back at Parvati, failed to realize that this was his wife in disguise, and spent 2 days making love to her. On returning home, Shiva was interrogated about his actions, and in time-honored manner denied everything. However, it soon became apparent that Parvati knew, so he accepted her offering of milk and water, relented, and apologized. Like many Hindu and Greek myths, this legend is based on a timeless domestic scenario. Just as Hera henpecks Zeus and is well aware of what he's up to, even if she cannot stop it, Parvati displays a thorough knowledge of her husband's character and must operate cleverly within that framework to subtly dominate him. There are moral lessons of forgiveness and mutual tolerance in the tale, and an impasse is reached, which will last until the next power struggle arises. The couple portray a timeless gender dynamic. One of the main problems apparent in the marriage of Shiva and Parvati is his addiction to solitary meditation and hashish, both of which he deems of greater importance than his domestic life with Parvati. The point of this is that God's will must always come above mundane concerns, just as Krishna must leave Radha in order to perform his duties as avatar. The hashish represents an abstract state of mind which others can neither follow or participate in. The individual's relationship with the divine is unique, as is the path he must tread to reach it. Shiva's antisocial spiritual inclinations are simply something Parvati must come to terms with. It falls to Parvati, therefore, to keep the relationship going. She is intelligent and spiritual herself, but she realizes that unless she equals or excels Shiva's asceticism, he will never hold her in high regard. Therefore, she does just that. For the sake of love, she undergoes every penance and hardship, chants to and meditates on God continually, and eventually attains Shiva's admiration. He even acknowledges that she has, in some respects, exceeded him. Shiva is therefore a suitable god form to whom to appeal for strength in denying oneself something. This should be a habit, emotional or physical, which will leave us freer once it has been shed. Diets do not count unless they are spiritually relevant. The undergoing of a small fast, for example. Vanity is definitely not the right motive for this god. See Artemis in Invoke the Goddess for ideas on how to help change body shape. Giving up neurotic and emotional addictions or physical habits, however, are tasks within which Shiva can help. Let's see. Okay, we got it. Contacting Shiva. Cool. And then we have the meditation. The best time of the year to contemplate Shiva is winter, but any waning or dark moon will do. Night is the best, and in solitude. Sandalwood incense will help get you on a suitable wavelength. Light a dark blue or purple candle and place it in a safe place parallel to the bridge of your nose. Assume the yogic posture most comfortable to you. If you cannot manage lotus posture, sitting cross-legged on the floor will do. If you wish to go the whole hog, which is not essential but may aid in a more vivid visualization, you could also smear a little ash on your face, a peculiar idea to the Western mind, but one whose symbolism amply befits the god we are approaching. Alternately, draw the Tripundraka, the 3 horizontal lines, and a symbolic third eye of Shiva on your forehead. If you can, perform this meditation when hungry. Better still, undergo a fast for a few days prior to it. If you work or are required to extract your body on a day-to-day basis, be moderate in this. If you are fortuitously free of such concerns, you can be as extreme as you like. Shiva is, after all, god of renunciants and ascetics. Here is the visualization for self-control or giving up a vice. You are in the wilderness. Wild beasts can be perceived watching you from the undergrowth, and nearby a giant cobra winds itself around a tree. Ghosts, too, haunt these godless wilds, and a feeling of menace keeps you forging your way ahead. Your goal? The pristine Himalayas, which you can see in the distance, like a remote paternal arms waiting to embrace and protect you. However, it seems to be a very long journey before you reach their sanctuary. The night is closing in. The twilight is blue, electric. The forest seems to comprise your darkest fears. In shadowy bowers lurk people from your past, those who have hurt you, and evil seems to press in from every side. It is as if the wrongs done to you in this life were carefully synchronized to cause you maximum damage. The weaknesses engendered in you seem inevitable, inescapable. Misery closes in on you. With a sudden shock, you notice that your enemies are laughing at you from the foliage and gossiping about your wretched state like excited evil monkeys. You are unsure as to whether you can bear it. You have half a mind to end the visualization here and now. Resolving to be strong in the cause of self-control, you begin to consciously fight any fear you may feel. Not only this, but you determine to break the harmful cycle you have been caught up in. Be sure to invest this part of the visualization with genuine positive intent. As you do so, the beasts and phantasms instantly fade into symbols. Mentally note what they become. They will be of use to you when interpreting your experience later. Propel yourself toward the snow-peaked purple Himalayas in the distance. This may take a considerable amount of effort, so exert yourself until you're able to reach one of the mountains. Feel how the atmosphere thins out and becomes more spiritually refined as you begin to ascend. In one of the most remote caves, Shiva is sitting in meditation, his limbs rigid with disuse, his hair a nest of serpents, his blue skin partially obscured by the dust of ages. The mere thought of encountering the great ascetic sends shockwaves through your aura, yet it is essential to your own progress that you supplicate the powerful Lord of Yogis. Ascend the mountain in whatever way seems natural to you. Levitation is always a handy technique at such times, though if you prefer to visualize yourself walking or traveling by any other means, do so. The main point is to ascend the purple rock, the white snows, the lonely terrain whose altitude is already making you feel faint. Rise up and up, breathing in the pure air, which appears to your inner eye somehow purple and white, or blue and white, up and up, the atmosphere seeming to cleanse you just through immersion in it. Seek out Shiva amongst the barren crags and the ancient fallen rocks. When you are close to the god astrally, you will feel a tingle of excitement at the very least. Propel yourself toward the source of this sensation. As you draw close to Shiva, the air becomes very dark blue and cold, yet simultaneously it nurtures you. The sensation is peculiar but not distressing. Your inner vision will expand dramatically. Shiva's eyes are closed in divine meditation, but his third eye glares down at you. Present your situation and problems to the vibrant blue deity. He towers over you in all senses, but you know that he feels compassion for mankind. His color is witness to this, and that includes you. The gods require human suffering in order to be graceful. It is their pleasure to grant boons and terminate anguish. Note the faint smile on the yogi's parched lips. Though he is in samadhi, still he perceives your plea. Supplicate and interact with him for as long as you wish. There will be an entirely personal experience. This will be an entirely personal experience. When you are ready, leave a token of your esteem with the god, an imaginary garland perhaps, or better still, the promise to give up your vice, such as a habit or emotional addiction, and retreat. Travel back down the mountain into the forest and then into your room. Once you have contemplated your experience for a little while, write it down. Do not forget to mention and interpret the symbols of your melted fears. The reason why I paused there is because I wanted to be able to explain that you basically, when you're feeling these enemies or you know, this scary stuff in the woods, you basically send out a burst of positivity. You can picture it any way that comes to you, but you basically jump into your power, and you'll watch whatever your enemies or these scary ghosts or whatever, you'll see them just totally turn into a symbol, right? And you do all this through your will. So you basically just send out a burst of astral positivity, and you know, it will happen like that. Do not forget to mention and interpret the symbols of your melted fears from the forest scenario. These can greatly aid you in discovering the root of these issues. If you found it difficult to push yourself from the forest to the mountains, you need to discipline yourself more. If you were swiftly propelled toward the distant abode or celestial ascetic, you have gained strength through hardship. Now it is time to use your own willpower, the hallmark of the Shivite, to free yourself from the shackles of your past. Mundane archetypes. The Shiva man is alternative and proud of it. He may have one close female friend, possibly his sister or similar male companions, but most people find him aloof. He's often of impressive stature, may wear his hair in dreadlocks or any other style that expresses his individuality and which he can carry off with apparent ease, as he dresses, often scruffily, to make his point. The Shiva archetype is usually cool and detached. It is through drugs that he finds himself verging on the sociable. Like his Hindu counterpart, the Shiva man smokes hashish and finds it therapeutic and thought-enhancing. During the day and when at work, he's likely to drink too much coffee and smoke himself out with hand-rolled cigarettes. He's blithe about his health, claiming that stress is the main killer in this era. Because of his erratic lifestyle, caused more by nocturnal thinking or socializing than by anything physically demanding, Shiva is often thin and usually wired, but rarely in an easily accessible way. He can be bad-tempered and argumentative, often provoking gigantic blowouts with the women in his life. He's likely to have children young, probably several, whom he treats with general interest one minute, taking them to music festivals and the like, followed by sudden bouts of fatigue the next. Their mothers are almost always hippie types. The general populace bores him, and he can be snappy with strangers when it would behoove him to be polite. Shiva rarely becomes overattached to a partner and is equally casual about jobs, abodes, and even his friends. He does not require much of anything to get by. Tarot cards. The Tower and Death. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. You guys, that is the Shiva chapter. Next, we're going to be diving into Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, and then after that we got the Egyptian gods we're going to roll through. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I really, really hope you try to make this connection. I hope you do the meditation. I hope you chant the mantra. I hope you feel Shiva's presence, and I hope it changes and transforms your life as much as it did mine. It's been beyond words. It's been amazing. It's been powerful. It's been magical. It's been destructive. It's been terrible. But that's life, right? And making this connection will definitely change your life. No matter who you are, no matter what race, right? Creed, religion, sex. God is God in every form. God is God. These are representing different energies of the one source. You are not worshiping idols. You are not, whether you're a Christian, it doesn't, people have it so messed up, right? God is God. There's only one God. No matter what form he's in. I'm a form of God. You're a form of God. And connecting with these deities are just ways to connect to different energies of the one God. So I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. I love y'all. And I'll catch you on the next one.